All right, picture this. It's 1711, smack in the middle of the War of the Spanish Succession. You've got this massive Spanish army, 4,000 strong, marching toward a village called Prats de Lucans. They're all geared up, looking to crush some rebels. They set up camp for the night, fires blazing, sentries posted. Business as usual for a professional army. But when the sun comes up the next morning, poof, they're gone. I mean vanished. Gone without a trace. No footprints, no abandoned gear, nothing. It's like the earth just swallowed them whole. This is the insane mystery of the lost Spanish regiment, and it's a head-scratcher that has stumped historians and military experts for centuries. What in the world happened to 4,000 soldiers? So let's break this down, because the details are what make this story so wild. We're talking about a full-on fighting force. This wasn't a small scouting party. We're talking cavalry, infantry, cannons, the whole 9 yards. They were seasoned veterans, commanded by some of Spain's top brass. These guys knew what they were doing. They camped on a plain, which makes it even weirder. There are no dense forests right there, no mysterious caves, no treacherous ravines for them to fall into. It was open ground. Local villagers who saw them set up camp said everything looked totally normal. They saw the campfires burning all night. But come dawn, silence. Utter and complete silence. The rebels, who were hunkered down expecting a massive attack, sent out scouts. The scouts came back totally baffled. The camp was empty. Fires were just smoldering ash. It was as if an army had never been there at all. Immediately, people started coming up with theories. The most obvious one, desertion. Maybe the soldiers just got fed up, decided they were done with the war and bailed. But think about it. 4,000 guys, all deciding to desert on the exact same night in perfect silence, without leaving a single boot or musket behind. And where would they even go? A group that large would have been spotted somewhere. But nope. No reports of a sudden influx of 4,000 dudes showing up in nearby towns looking for work. Plus, these were professional soldiers. Mass desertion on this scale was basically unheard of, especially without a single person getting caught or talking about it later. It just doesn't add up. Okay, so if it wasn't desertion, what else could it be? The next logical guess is a surprise attack. Maybe the enemy forces, the Prostrian rebels, pulled off the sneakiest, most brilliant ambush in military history. Maybe they surrounded the camp in the dead of night and took out every single soldier without anyone raising an alarm. But again, let's get real. How do you wipe out 4,000 trained soldiers who have sentries posted without a single sound? No gunfire, no cannon shots, no screams. And what about the bodies? Even if you managed to pull off this impossible silent attack, you'd have to deal with 4,000 casualties. There were no mass graves found, no reports of a huge battle. The rebel army itself never claimed responsibility for such an epic victory. If you'd just taken out an entire enemy regiment, you'd be shouting it from the rooftops, right? It would have been a massive morale booster. But all they ever said was that the army was there one day and gone the next. So, the surprise attack theory has more holes in it than a block of Swiss cheese. This is where things start to get a little out there. When logical explanations fail, people's imaginations run wild. And boy, did they ever. Local folklore and legends popped up almost immediately. One of the most popular stories was that the ground itself opened up and swallowed the army whole. An earthquake, maybe? A giant sinkhole? It's a dramatic image for sure. But geologists have studied the area. There's no evidence of a massive seismic event or a sinkhole large enough to swallow an entire army and its equipment. The landscape today looks pretty much the same as it did back then, so while it's a cool story for a campfire, science says it's a no-go. Then we get to the really fun stuff. It's the supernatural theories. Some people started whispering about curses, about angry spirits of the land. The region has a rich history of folklore, with tales of witches and mystical beings. Did the army stumble onto some sacred ground? Did they tick off a local witch who decided to make them disappear with a flick of her wrist? It's spooky, and it makes for a great ghost story, but there's obviously zero evidence to support it. But the most modern, and, let's be honest, most entertaining theory? Aliens. Yep, you heard me. UFO enthusiasts love this story. The theory goes that an alien spacecraft descended upon the plane that night, beamed the entire army up Scotty style, and zipped off into the cosmos. Why would they do that? Who knows? Maybe for study. Maybe they needed soldiers for an intergalactic war. It's a totally bonkers idea, but hey, when you've ruled out all the logical possibilities, what's left, however improbable, must be the truth, right? Or at least, it's a lot more fun to think about. Let us step back into the realm of reality for a second and look at what serious historians think. Most modern scholars have landed on a much less exciting but far more plausible explanation. And it all comes down to bad information and the fog of war. The most likely scenario is that the story itself has been massively exaggerated over time. It's like a historical game of telephone. The original event was probably far more mundane. Perhaps a much smaller unit, not 4,000 soldiers, was stationed there. Maybe they were ordered to move out quietly during the night to a different position, and their stealthy departure was misinterpreted by the locals and the enemy. Over the years, as the story was told and retold, the number of soldiers grew, the details got fuzzier, and the mystery became grander. 100 soldiers quietly relocating becomes 4,000 soldiers vanishing into thin air. Think about it. In 1711, communication was slow and unreliable. Records were often incomplete or lost. A report of a regiment could have been misinterpreted. Spanish regiment at the time wasn't always a fixed number. It could vary wildly. It's entirely possible that a smaller force did in fact desert, but on a scale that wasn't history-making. A few hundred men slipping away in the night is a lot more believable than 4,000. Or maybe the initial reports from the rebel scouts were wrong. Maybe they just missed the army marching away in the pre-dawn darkness. The story of them vanishing could have been a piece of propaganda to begin with, designed to make the Spanish army look incompetent or to boost the morale of the local population. So what's the final verdict? Is this a case for the X-Files? Or just a classic example of historical exaggeration? The truth is, we'll probably never know for sure. There's no smoking gun, no long-lost diary from a soldier that explains everything. And that's what makes this story so enduring. It's the perfect historical mystery. It has all the elements: a massive army, an inexplicable disappearance, and just enough strange details to keep you guessing. The lack of a definitive answer lets our imaginations fill in the blanks. Was it a brilliant military maneuver? A mass desertion of epic proportions? Or did something truly strange and unexplainable happen on that plane in Spain over 300 years ago? The story has become a legend, a piece of military folklore that blurs the line between fact and fiction. It's a testament to how easily truth can be lost to time, and how a good mystery can capture our imaginations for centuries. The next time you hear a story that sounds too crazy to be true, Just remember the lost Spanish regiment. Sometimes the wildest tales have a kernel of truth that's been twisted and embellished into a legend. And other times, well, you just can't rule out the aliens. What do you guys think happened? Was it a simple military redeployment that got blown way out of proportion? Or do you believe something more bizarre took place? Let me know your theories down in the comments. This is one of those mysteries where your guess is as good as mine. Thanks for diving into this historical rabbit hole with me. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unexplained. See you next time.